All right, welcome. Today, we are jumping into one of the most powerful, game-changing strategies out there for anyone building, well, anything. We're talking about the minimum viable product, or MVP. It's a concept that has literally launched billion-dollar companies by completely flipping the old script. You know, the one that says you need a perfect, feature-packed product right out of the gate. So let's get into it. And this quote from Eric Ries, who's kind of the godfather of the whole lean startup movement, just nails it. The goal of an MVP isn't to be the finish line. Nope, it's the starting gun. It's not about shipping this final polished thing. It's about starting a conversation with your actual users so you can learn what you should build next.
Okay, so to really get how powerful this is, let me throw a question at you. How in the world did a simple little video end up building a business that's now worth billions? Seriously, the answer to that question is where you really see the magic of the MVP.
And yeah, that question leads us straight to the classic story of Dropbox. It's maybe the perfect example of what an MVP is really all about. So it all kicked off with a really simple, super personal frustration. The founder, Drew Houston, was sitting on a bus and had that sinking feeling. He'd forgotten his USB drive, again. And he just thought, this is crazy. Why can't my files just be everywhere? He felt that pain point himself, and he had a hunch a lot of other people did too.
Now, you gotta understand, building a seamless cloud-based file syncing service is, well, it's insanely difficult, a massive technical challenge. So instead of locking himself away for years to code the perfect solution, Houston did something absolutely brilliant. He just made a simple 3-minute video that showed people how the product would work. It was a demo for a product that didn't even really exist yet.
And the result? It was just staggering. He posted that video to a tech community, and literally overnight, the sign-up list for the product went from a few thousand people to 75,000. I mean, think about that. That was the ultimate proof. Before writing a single line of the final public code, Dropbox had already proven that people were desperate for their solution.
And that video, that was their minimum viable product. See, an MVP is just the most basic version of your idea that you can get into the hands of real users to start learning. It's not about being feature-rich, it's all about being feedback-rich. The entire goal is what we call validated learning, using hard data from real people to find out if you're actually on the right track.
Okay, so this is a super common point of confusion. What's the difference between an MVP and a prototype? Well, think of it like this. A prototype helps you answer the question, how should we build this thing? You know, the look, the feel, the user flow. But an MVP helps you answer the much bigger question, should we even build this thing at all? It's about testing your core idea out in the wild with real people.
And the benefits here are just huge. I mean, you get your product out there way faster, you spend way less money developing it, and this is the big one, you get that crucial customer feedback right from the start. All of this dramatically reduces the single biggest risk every new venture faces, spending all your time and money building something that nobody actually wants.
But here's the thing, this isn't just a one-off Dropbox story. So many of the huge, iconic companies we know and use every single day started with these incredibly simple, almost laughably bare-bones MVPs. Let's take another classic example, Airbnb. Their billion-dollar empire didn't start with a slick global platform and instant booking. Nope, it started with an air mattress on a floor. The story goes, the founders, Brian and Joe, were flat broke and couldn't pay their rent in San Francisco. At the same time, a huge design conference was rolling into town and every single hotel was booked solid. So they had a simple idea, a hypothesis, right? Would people actually pay to sleep on an air mattress in their living room? So what did they do? They threw together a super basic website with a couple of photos of their loft. And boom, they soon had 3 paying guests. They basically validated a multi-billion-dollar market without any fancy tech whatsoever.
All right, and then you've got Zappos. They decided to test what was at the time a massive question in e-commerce. Would people really truly buy shoes online without ever trying them on first?
So instead of pouring millions into inventory and building giant warehouses, the founder, Nick Swinmurn, did something clever. He went to local shoe stores, took pictures of their shoes, and just posted them on a simple website. Whenever an order came through, he would physically go back to that store, buy the pair of shoes, and ship them himself. It was completely manual, a total grind, but it proved his core idea was a winner with almost zero financial risk.
Now, look, these stories are incredible, right? But you might be thinking, are these just lucky one-offs, happy accidents? Is there any actual hard data that proves this whole approach works?
Well, as it turns out, a major study from Harvard Business School wanted to find out the exact same thing.
Researchers there surveyed 470 different early-stage startups, and their goal was to figure out what really separated the high-growth companies from all the rest. They looked at pretty much everything, from the founder's education to their management styles.
And the results were, well, they were pretty fascinating. The things that strongly predicted success weren't what you'd probably guess. It wasn't about whether the founder had an MBA or went to an Ivy League school. Nope. The strongest predictors were things like using lean startup methods, exactly like building MVPs, and being absolutely obsessed with tracking the right financial metrics. The takeaway was crystal clear. How you build your company is way more important than who is building it.
Okay, so we've seen it works. The stories check out, the data backs it up. So, how can you actually take this powerful concept and apply it to your own idea? Let's walk through a quick game plan.
The whole process really starts with focus. First, you have to get absolutely crystal clear on the one problem you're solving and for who. Then, you set a very specific goal for your MVP. Is it just to get email signups? Is it to test if people will pay $10 for it? From there, you can prioritize the absolute bare minimum features needed to hit that one goal, and this is the hard part. You have to ruthlessly exclude everything else. And then finally, you go talk to potential users and validate that list before you even think about building.
And here's a great little tool to help you with that prioritization step. It's called the Moscow Framework. It's just a simple way to bucket all your feature ideas into 4 categories: must-haves, should-haves, could-haves, and won't-haves. When you're building your MVP, you focus only on the must-haves. That's it. Everything else can wait. That discipline is exactly what keeps your MVP lean and makes it so effective.
Now, as powerful as the MVP approach is, it's not a magic wand. It's a tool. And like any tool, you can definitely use it wrong. So understanding the common traps is really key to making sure your MVP actually helps you learn something, instead of just being a waste of time and money.
So, is this whole MVP thing just a silver bullet for success? A guaranteed win? Not quite. See, an MVP only truly fails when it doesn't teach you anything valuable. And a lot of startups make a few critical mistakes that turn this amazing learning opportunity into a pretty costly detour.
You know, the biggest mistakes are often the simplest ones to make. First, there's feature overload, which is where people totally forget the M, the minimum, part of MVP. Then there's confusing minimum with bad or sloppy. It still has to be viable, right? It has to work and solve the core problem. But probably the most dangerous mistakes are these: jumping into building without talking to users first, launching without having any way to measure what people are actually doing, and treating the MVP launch as the finish line, when it's really just the beginning of this whole learning cycle.
So, I'm going to leave you with this one final thought. Your big, amazing idea, at the end of the day, it's really just a hypothesis. It's a guess that's waiting to be tested. The real core of the MVP mindset is to constantly ask yourself this question: what is the absolute simplest, fastest, and cheapest experiment I can possibly run to see if this hypothesis is true? It could be a video. It could be a simple web page. Heck, it could be you just doing the service manually for a few people. Find that simple test, and you're already on your way.